Look, I'm going to be honest. I'm going to be straightforward here. I'm terrified. I'm so scared to be here today. I made a really poor choice to...
This way a little bit. There you go.
Man, this is already going poorly. I made a really poor choice to see what all the other, like, more than 98 chapters of this are doing. And there's, like, a mayor doing one. And, guys, I'm just a camp counselor. That's what I do. I hang out with kids. We play a lot of dodgeball, and we talk about dinosaurs. And then when I was, doing a little bit more preparing yesterday, I got really distracted. There were some llamas on the loose, and then there was like this dress thing that happened, and I just, look, I didn't pay as much attention to this as I should have, but thank you so much for having me here today. I guess I should press a button. Oh wow, that's our camp, guys. That's summer club. That's where I work at the Royal Ontario Museum. That's kind of cool. That's a Barosaurus and some summer club kids. So that's fun. Oh, and that's some more stuff. Oh, wow, that's some more stuff. Okay, so if I could just talk a little bit about who I am first, that would probably help me get more comfortable. So when I was little, my mom brought me to the ROM a lot because I love dinosaurs. Dinosaurs are my favorite thing in the whole wide world. They're big, they're small, they eventually turn into birds, they have feathers, they have really big teeth, and sometimes they have horns. And sometimes they leave really cool things that are left behind, like dinosaur poop. So dinosaurs were really like my big thing. So my mom brought me to the ROM a lot when I was little, and then eventually my mom sent me to camp at the ROM. And that was really a lot of fun because I wanted to, become a paleontologist one day. So what better place to go than spend your life at a museum? Very quickly, I found out that you need calculus. You need calculus to be a paleontologist. And I'm not good at math. I got a courtesy pass in math in grade 11, which is when you get 50. Because the teacher likes you. I brought her flowers. I'm going to be honest about that. And she passed me, so that was really helpful. But around the same time, I realized that I kind of like teaching kids. That was fun. That was a good thing to do. So I started volunteering, and then I became a counselor when I was 15, and then I hung out a little bit longer. And 13 years later, I get to run these programs, which I think is absolutely ridiculous and astounding, and I can't believe someone gave me this responsibility. And so my job is really to, the courses that we do at our camp, to pick those, to hire and train our staff, develop new programs. And over time, it started to feel a little bit like being a principal of a really small school that focuses almost entirely on dinosaurs and mummies. So I feel a lot more comfortable with that. But one of the things that I found a lot that I do is I hold a door. I hold a door at the start of the day, and I hold a door at the end of the day. And I've become very much a glorified doorman. And why I do that is because I want to make sure the kids don't run away at the end of the day. I want to make sure that they're leaving with an adult. But through doing this, I've had a really wonderful opportunity to observe our camp, to observe our climate, to observe our environment. And so I want to talk a little bit about today, what standing at a door has taught me. And then I want to talk to you a little bit about this thing called the Museum Circle of Life, which one day, if I become, a doctor of dinosaurs or something, this is going to be my thesis. So this is what we do. We try stuff on. We do cool things. That's a 5-year-old wearing a helmet that is about 15 pounds. And that's why you have to hold it on their head, because you don't want them to fall over. But that's what we do at camp. And often when you're standing at the door at the end of the day, you get to hear about what all the kids have done. So, they might tell their mom, oh, today I got to try on this really heavy helmet, and I almost fell over, but my assistant was there, and it was all okay. Then I got to hold a sword, but then he took the sword away from me because I was wheeling it around too much, but it was still a lot of fun. Or they might talk about, hey, Mom, you know that chicken sandwich I had? Well, Mom, did you know that chickens are actually just dinosaurs? And so you get to hear all these really cool things, the art that they're doing, the cool people that they met. Hey, Mom, I met David Evans, world famous paleontologist today. That was cool. And so when we do that, when I hear those things, it helps me know that, yes, we're doing something right. We're doing something okay. Because I can't be in all the groups at all the times. I often have to write budgets. And budgets aren't fun. And budgets don't show me what we're doing good as a camp. So standing at the door has been really helpful with that. I want to share, if it's okay, two stories that I've heard or I hear at the door often. And I'm going to put this down, and I'm going to go freestyle here. Oh, wow. Woo. Okay, and a thing that we hear a lot at camp or at the doorway is kids talking to their parents about this. I'm so sorry if you're eating. Do you know what this is? Man, it is dinosaur poo. It is dinosaur poo. It is 100 million year old dinosaur poo. And a thing we like to do at the ROM is we like to put priceless artifacts in children's hands, such as 100 million year old dinosaur poo. And it's cool, and you know, when they pick it up the first time, they don't really know what they're looking at, they don't really know what it is, so you ask leading questions. What does it feel like? You know? What does it smell like? What does it taste like? And you can do these things. You can do these things. That's like part of our job. And it's really special that we get to do this hands-on learning, this object-based learning. Yeah, man, touch that dinosaur poo. That's crazy, right? A thing that's really important to scientists about dinosaur poo is it gives us a really good idea of how environments in the past work. Because if you break that thing open, you could see what a herbivore was eating. So what are the plants in their environment? You know, what kind of pollen, what kind of flowers? Were there flowers? There wasn't until the very end. So you can learn all these really cool things. If I'm a carnivore, I can see what kind of other dinosaurs I'm eating. So it really helps us paint a picture of a point in history which we actually really don't know what it looks like. So that's a really important thing that we do at camp. We like to show kids this sort of stuff. Okay, you can keep passing that around. Please don't break it. Another thing that we do is we spend a lot of time in the galleries. And I hope it's okay, but I know like Eric Allen in the back is here. He used to be an assistant at the camp. So like I know that he knows what's going on. But for the rest of you who might not, I sort of want to walk you through what we do at camp. This is another story that we hear a lot at the door. This is Jed Matazonk. And she's a 3,000-year-old temple singer. And the way that it's been described to me is she was kind of like a gospel singer in a church today. That's what she did in a church in ancient Egypt 3,000 years ago. And it's important for us to talk about mummies because kids are terrified. Things that they learn from Scooby-Doo is that mummies are going to chase you. Mummies are going to come after you. They're not actually really loving things that they are, okay? Because this is a way that in ancient Egypt they would want to preserve their culture and pass it on. So on Jed Matazonk's, on her coffin case, you can learn a little bit about her life, and that's how we know she was a temple singer. And it's all these really cool things. But we like to tell the story of who they are. And Jed Matazonk has a fascinating story in her unfortunate death. Oh, wow, look at that. Look at that CT scan. Big words. So Jed Matazonk is a mummy at the museum, and a girl named Gail Gibson, who's one of our Egyptologists and one of our teachers, in the 90s, she was able to get this guy scanned. And what we learned about her was how she died, because she died pretty young. She died when she was about 30, 35. And we like to tell the story of it. So you see sort of on the top of her jaw right here, where you got that sort of big white mark. In ancient Egypt, they love carbs. Now, I love carbs. I love carbs. Carbs are so tasty, and their diet is built of a lot of bread and beer, which is maybe our diet as well. But when they would grind the grain to make the bread, they would use stones, okay? And you sort of grind it all up. And sometimes a little pebble would get inside of it. And then sometimes when you're eating that delicious bread, you bite into a pebble. And then it cracks your tooth. Now, they're not really good at dentistry back in ancient Egypt, so there was an infection that spread into her blood, and then she died. And it's really sad because she was a singer. She brought joy to people's lives. But we tell the story to kids. And this was the first story I ever remember hearing when I was a kid at camp. And then, on my very first day of volunteering during a March break 13 years ago, it was the very first story I heard again. And it's fascinating how we have like these oral traditions at this camp of passing things on. Now, another really cool thing about Jed Matazonk is we're not done studying her. So Gail Gibson, a couple years ago, with some of her colleagues at Sick Kids, while they were looking through the coffin, they said, you know what? she had a husband, and I think I know where her husband is. And her husband is in an art museum in Chicago. And he has a name that I can't pronounce, but we're pretty sure he's there. And it's because we looked at the coffins and we compared them, and they look very, very similar. But that's different than what I was taught when I was little, right? Like, we keep adding to these stories. And it's really fun when you're standing at the door, you hear a story that was taught to you when you were little, and then, oh wow, she had a husband? He's on display at another museum? Like, I still get to learn at these doors. Oh man, oh look at that. Look at those kids running around. That's another thing we do. We do a lot of art. And so here what we're doing is we had the kids design their own shields. Then, in a poor choice, I think, we gave them really long spears. And then we sent them running. Now, this is a really fun activity. This is a really fun activity for the staff and for the kids, because then we have the kids learn some formations and things like that, and then we throw dodgeballs at them. And you can really put some speed on that guy because they got a shield. So it's a lot of fun. But standing at the door isn't always a lot of fun. When I started there, one of my thoughts was, yeah, I want to be here in case a kid runs away, but I want to be a big target for parents if they have a concern. Because sometimes you do, whether you're at school, whether you're at camp, whether in any environment that you're in with kids, something's going to happen, okay? And so I thought it was really important to be visible, to be out front. So every morning I'm there holding the door saying good morning, and at the end of every day I'm there as well saying, have a great day, you did some great art today, that was awesome. Remember when I threw a dodgeball at you and you had a shield? So we do all those things, but sometimes I hear things that aren't positive, like, I didn't eat my lunch today because, these other kids were picking on me. Or, you know what, Mom, I don't have any friends here. And these sort of things often happen on the first day or two of camp when you don't know anyone. And if you're really shy, like when I was a kid and I went to camp there, those are the feelings that you feel. So it's helpful for me to be there because then I can go back to the groups and say, hey, we got to work on this. We got to solve this. And I'm there for the parents to talk to. Now, before I spent a lot of time at the door, really engaging with people and being out all the time, sometimes these talks would be a little bit more one-sided in the sense of, you need to solve this right now, you need to fix this. But I've found recently, after spending so much time in like a setting where parents just see you as a positive person, someone who's just kind of a nice guy, someone who loves running a camp, someone who's saying nice things, not just negative things, that if an issue does come up, they'll come to me and say, hey, how can we solve this? How can we solve this together? Is there something I should be doing at home to prepare my boy better? Is there anything that we can do here? And so these interactions have become a lot more friendly, a lot more community building. And I didn't expect that. I didn't expect that. And it's really taught me a lot that if you put yourself out there, you make yourself a visible target. If you're not always telling people that they're doing something wrong, then maybe when something does come up, they're going to have a better experience with you. And so that's something that we've sort of really tried to push on all of our staff at the camp. So from our volunteers and assistants and instructors is don't just talk to the parents when something bad happened, but tell them, hey, Jack did a great job with his dinosaur diorama today. Or, hey, I'm really proud of Chloe and how she solved some disputes for some other kids. Or, Sandra, she had a wicked dodgeball throw today. And I just wanted you as a parent to know that she's really good at throwing dodgeballs. And so it's really taught me a lot that it's important to talk to people, not just about the bad things, but also about the good things. Because when you have to talk about the bad things, maybe it won't be so bad. Sweet. All right, where am I in this? Okay, I'm now halfway done, guys. Okay, so this is now my second part. It's called the Museum Circle of Life. So those are a lot of observations that I made at the doorway about our camp, because I've been in a spot where I can just see things happen. These are some of our staff. They're holding a Prosorlophus skull, and it's a cast, so it's okay, guys, because it looks kind of precariously held. And we use this image in a lot of promotional material, and I'm always so scared that someone's going to phone us up and say, hey, you're not taking good care of that skull right there. But these are our staff, and at the camp, we got kids, we got staff, and we got parents. And a thing that I've noticed over time is that kids become staff. Staff eventually go away, become parents themselves, and have kids, and send them back to the ROM. And it's this really cool circle, and it can start at any point. So I'm sort of an example of that right now. You know, I was a kid, and I became a staff. And so many of our kids at camp, they grow up wanting to become an assistant. They grow up, they want to become an instructor. And they're 6 years old, but they've already planned out, this is the group I'm doing next year, then I'm doing this, then I'm going to do leadership, I'm going to become an LIT, and then I'm going to become your boss. And these are just things that kids think about. They have a lot of fun. You know, they tell all their other friends. We have 7-year-old advocates for our programs going out to their schools and saying, well, when I was at ROM camp, I learned that, you know, birds are actually dinosaurs. And so they're telling all their friends to come out too. This is really helpful for us when we're making our staff as well, because when you've had a kid go to camp since they were 5 years old, and now they're 15, and they're teaching, you know, they're assisting at your camp, they know everything already. They know that it's important to give high fives to kids. They know it's important to say good things, positive things, to not always say negative things. We got staff in training at 6 years old. And it's kind of awesome. They come in really well. So 100% of all of our counselor level positions, they all used to be volunteers. And the vast majority of our volunteers, they used to be campers as well. And I had this thought a couple years ago when I was under a lot of pressure to get more teens to come to the museum. Because it's all about getting teens to come and buy a ticket, right? That's important. That's key. But I want you guys to know that teens don't really like going to museums to hang out a lot. That's just not going to be a thing. But teens, they want to help. They want to do constructive things. They want to build their resume. They need their 40 hours for their volunteer letter. Sorry, to pass high school. They need their 150 hours to get their Duke of Edinburgh. But that's really helpful for us because we need to employ staff. So we can hire straight from our volunteers. Right? We can pay them money to work at a museum. We have this wonderful youth program at the ROM that's based purely around just coming to the ROM, talking about dinosaurs, and then, hey, at one point, you start getting paid. And what I thought was really cool when I was a kid is I got to go to camp. And then when I got to become a volunteer, I got to go to camp for free. And then when I became a counselor, I got paid to go to camp. And so it's this really wonderful cycle. And when I'm at the door, it's really special because there's this one time where mom and daughter, they were walking out, and we like to make stone tools with kids. I'm telling you right now, it's pretty dangerous. When you take one rock and then another rock and then you slam them together, sometimes your finger gets in the way, like it did with me that one time. But it's really cool. It's like experimental archaeology. We're learning how things happen, how they work. And so she was on her way out, and she was showing her mom her stone tool. And her mom said, oh, when I came to camp here, I did that. And it was just this really special moment because when you're an adult, even though maybe you're a scientist now or you're a designer or whatever it is, you remember when you were a teen and you had all this fun. So why don't we just send our kids back there now? So it's this wonderful circle. And it's called the Museum Circle of Life. And I want to show you this. This is a stone tool. I'm not going to pass this around. I don't even know where that dinosaur poo is anymore. But this, there's some really cool things about working at the ROM. The coolest thing I've ever held was a piece of Mars. A piece of another planet. It feels just like our planet. I'm letting you know that right now. But it was a piece of another planet because sometimes rocks hit another planet, then those rocks go on a miraculous journey all the way around to Earth. The second coolest thing I ever touched was a piece of the moon, which again feels just like any sort of rock on Earth. But it was fabulous because I get to look up at the moon every day and I was like, wow, this came from there. And then this is the third coolest thing I've ever held, okay? Because they wouldn't let me bring a piece of Mars, and they wouldn't let me bring a piece of the moon. This is a stone tool. It is almost 500,000 years old. And it wasn't made by a human like us, okay? Someone made this. Homo erectus made this, not us. And they said to themselves, in whatever language they used, however way that they communicated, yeah, man, let's take 2 rocks, hit them against each other, and we're going to have a really dope tool. And then they would teach that to their kids. And one of the thoughts with this piece here is that it's not finished. You see how like the rock right there, like it's really sort of shiny, but then it's sort of rough? It's not finished. And so when I've been talking to some of the educators at the ROM, there's no way to know why it wasn't finished. But it's almost like this kid was making a tool, and mom said, no, you're doing it poorly. You're doing a really bad job right now. Throw it away, let's do a new one. But it's just so cool. Like the hands of someone else that's not a human made that. Not a human made that. And that astounds me every single time I get to hold that. So I've learned a lot of things from holding a door at the museum. I've learned that you got to observe whatever it is you're doing. You got to actually see it. You can't just take for granted the work that you do. You actually have to be out there and see it. And you can't just spend 10 minutes, but you got to be out there seeing what exactly your camp looks like, what your organization looks like. And for me, that's standing at a door for about an hour every day, saying good morning to all the parents and good morning to all the kids. I found that being visible has really helped our program, because now the parents know they got all these people to go to, and every single day there's going to be this guy who wears a kid's shirt and a fanny pack, but he's going to be out there every day that if you have a question, and that if you're visible and they get to know you, their questions aren't always bad. And often they want to talk to you about the good things, or they want to become your advocates. I've learned that it's important to think about the future, and not like 1 year, not like a stupid 5-year plan, but like actually 15 years down the road. And that's what we do when we're hanging out with all our kids, right? Every single kid that comes to camp has the potential to maybe one day be a staff, to then teach another 300 kids that might have the potential one day to be a staff. That's like 15, 20 years in the making. But let's have fun. Let's do all the things right, and then they themselves are going to have that sort of fun with kids. And the final thing that I sort of learned holding a door is that if you really love dinosaurs enough, if you love museums enough, and you just keep coming to the ROM every single day, eventually they just give you a full-time job. That's what I got. Thanks, guys.